Hi, everybody. Welcome back to SecurityGuideTV.com. We're continuing episode 1679 with my friend, Mr. Dennis Hurst. He's the founder president of saltworks.io. Dennis, welcome back.
Great. Thanks to be back.
So we've talked about a couple things, observability of your network and doing an inventory. Those are very important things. And boy, if we did that religiously, we might cut down on half our security problems. But let's talk about the lessons learned while we're going through this process. What does CISO or CSO, have learned, or what you've seen them learn, in really kind of embracing this ability to look at things at 30,000 feet? It's okay to run it and fix an application that's broken, but you got to fix all the applications simultaneously to make sure your entire infrastructure is working.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think the lessons I think that a lot of CISOs have learned, and it's like everything, it's an evolution of technology. A lot of the CISOs that are out there today came from a day when security, if you look especially like in the 90s as security evolved, they were networking folks, they were audit folks, they were risk officers, and that has evolved over time to be the C-suites for security, IT security in general. That's a big, sort of that evolution really didn't include applications. So if you think of somebody our age that was a developer in the 90s and the 80s and 90s and worked their way up to the executive ranks in development, they're probably a chief technology officer, or they're a VP of development. That's the career path they went down. Really, application security is a thing. I got into it in 2000, so I've been in it about 20 years. Back then, it was virtually undiscussed. It was a tiny little niche. Everybody ignored it. So if you fast forward now to where the majority of breaches have an application security element to them, the people that are in the C-suite didn't come up in that world. It's new. Even though these breaches have been around for years, it's new at an enterprise level. And the understanding that we need to have observability across the enterprise and see all of our applications and understand what's being developed and what its risk is. It's another element. In the OSI layer, this is kind of layer 7 of the stack, which is new. So I think the big lessons learned is that for CISOs to realize that applications run on top of their infrastructure, they're probably the most vulnerable thing. They do the most risky things in that they receive data. If you think about a website, it's going to decrypt SSL and receive all that critical data. It's going to process it, and then it's going to stick it in a database and store it. So if it gets breached, it has access to everything. It's also typically running inside your network. So if you have a traditional data center and it's running inside it, it has the opportunity, if exploited, to be used as a jump off point for everything else, all other attacks that somebody could do. So those lessons learned of, just that core fact that application security is a huge problem. It's really not addressed properly in the development community. And even if it is, there are some great developers out there. Even if particular teams of developers in your business are addressing it, I'll almost guarantee you it's not being addressed at a global level across a large enterprise. So when you talk about a CISO, you're talking about a larger company. The ability to understand what's being built, what's running on servers, are they being secured properly across the enterprise globally, is a lesson that CISOs are learning and have learned recently is critical. It's hard to do. It's complicated. A lot of the solutions that are out there don't give you some of that insight very well, but being able to do it well is critical to understanding your risk, mitigating that risk, and managing it, which ultimately is core to what a CISO does day to day.
Now, I love your insights on this and the history, and I'll give you an analogy in the physical world. But let's look at a police department. The chief is the guy that came up through the ranks and usually didn't spend as much patrol time as the old salty sergeant that's been there 30 years. So the chief is like CISO, and the lieutenant or sergeant, or let's go to the sergeant level, which is the field guy, right? Does the work. That's the CTO, right? And chiefs are good at what? PR, marketing, communications. And the guy in the field that goes out on 30,000 calls a year, the sergeant supervising the guys, he's the worker bee, right? Yep. Did we make a mistake? Did we put CISOs in charge when we should have put chief technical officers in charge? It's an interesting thing to think about because the CTOs really are the nuts and bolts of the operation.
They really are, and I think it's a challenge. somebody's got to be really a jack of all trades, because if you take that great technologist, or that line sergeant who is a great police officer, and make them the chief of police, but they don't understand politics, they won't get funding, or they may do something that the press uses inappropriately. And we've seen lots of just
Exactly.
harsh environments. Yeah. I think CISOs are in the same boat, in technology. You've got to be a politician to get funding. You have to be able to clearly communicate risk and why they should get budget, why they should get staffing, why all these applications running in cloud environments that are totally unmanaged is dangerous, and you need to have a balanced approach. It's a daunting job to do well, because you're a politician, you're a finance guy, you're also a security guy, and you really need to be an application guy. You need to understand, what's the value of all these things that are running, and what's the impact of the business if they don't, or they get breached. It is a hard position to evolve in, and there is no linear path to it. I think that's a challenge for these executives. It's a very, very complicated, very high risk job that has no particular career path. You've got to do a lot of different things. Well, very well.
Dennis Hurst, one of the smartest guys in the room, founder, president of saltworks.io. Check out his 3 series he's done for Black Hat, 3 different videos. Mr. Dennis, thanks again for coming on, and give us a call once in a while. Give us an update on this stuff. I'm very interested to see how the industry is progressing and adapting this technology. Thanks again.
Appreciate your time. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Have a great day.